So over the past year or so, I've been working on a new album, Knowledge is Power Volume 2, which really has only been concentrated in the last few months actually. I was getting the prep together over the last year, but really over the February and March, that was it. That's gone off to mastering now. That's out on the 30th of March. It's featuring all kinds of different UK producers and MCs and different people. My main collaboration partners have been Akala the Beatmaker and Lavar Bullard, who's like our internal team at Interstate, we've been rocking with for a minute now. And then also people like Red Skull, Last Resort, Explicit, Skills, people like that have come along production-wise. Mike Righteous is on there, Amy True's on there, Swiss is on there. You know what I mean? So we've got some good features, got some good strong talent on there. And I think it's the most hip-hop, if I had to say anything, it's the most hip-hop of the records I've put out over recent years. A lot of the stuff I've done is quite alternative, whereas Knowledge is Power 2 is just hip-hop and grime. There's not really anything left of centre on there. It's that kind of focus, but I'm kind of a bit spaced out right now. I literally delivered the masters about 2 hours ago. I haven't slept in about 3 days, but I said, you know what? Let me just update you with another project that I've been up to. In my hand, I'm holding a copy of The Ruins of Empires, which is my graphic novel. Whenever I show people this, people think I did the drawing. I'd be amazed if I could draw like that. To me, people that can draw like that seem like magic, because my drawing is still like 2-year-old stick figures. But no, this was drawn by, I collaborated with 2 artists, but 90% of it was done by an artist from Japan called Tokyo Ayama, who I commissioned to do it. The story is really a French scholar from the 1700s wrote a book called The Ruins of Empires, and I've adapted that and wrote like a 40-minute rap really. It's a 40-minute poem that I've put out set out into a story, which is looking at why human societies rise and fall and what causes the corruption among human beings and greed and all these things. And he has like an out-of-body experience, and this central character, which is the knowledge seeker, looks down at human history as if he wasn't on the earth, like looks at human history from outer space. So that's like the main story in the book, which is illustrated with Tokyo's drawings. And then there's 2 other stories which are like regular novel type short stories, i.e. they're not in rap form, they're just written. One is set in the Haitian Revolution, a collection of short stories based on true events of the Haitian Revolution, which is the only successful slave revolution in human history. For those who don't know about it, look it up. And the other short story is set during the Industrial Revolution in England, inspired by the particular event, or 2 particular events. One called the Peterloo Massacre, which was when 15 unarmed protesters were murdered up near Manchester for demanding basic parliamentary reform in Britain. And then the second is a thing called the Cattle Street Conspiracy, which is where a government agent, again this is in the UK, tried to convince a group of radicals to kill the government and then set them up when they agreed to do it, and then they got caught and they were all hung. And these are true stories, but I've written my own fictional account of them, as lost chapters from history within the Ruins of Empires. So this graphic novel here is for sale on my website. It's been doing really well. We did a couple of readings of it recently at the Gate Theatre. They both sold out, which is very, very interesting, right? Because the way our music and our culture is often put across, literacy is not something that's at the centre of it. But if you look at, the range of people that came, that paid money to come. And when the show, it was clear, they paid to come and hear me read my book. You understand? So I'm just trying to show young artists there are other avenues. I'm an independent artist. We put this book together. It's not a cheap book. It's not a cheap product to put together. But it's already selling very, very well. In some ways, it's kind of selling better than CDs because people see, I suppose, more inherent value in a piece of art like this with all these pictures and with the words in it, and it's not so easily duplicated like music. But I'm trying to show people that as an artist, having more strings to your bow gives you different platforms and different arenas you can work in. And so what we're really trying to do, I'm also collaborating at the moment with a composer called Paul Gladstone Reed and with a visual arts company to develop the basis of what could be a future theatre production, a large-scale theatre production. And that's really the long-term vision for the Ruins of Empires, is not just the graphic novel, but how it's going to look on the stage and on a massive hip-hop style production. And I see this as like the first installment in a series of projects I'm going to do that are about taking massive events from history, because that's my subject, that's what I'm into, and retelling them in a hip-hop form, but hip-hop on a scale the way that we'd see opera, hip-hop on a scale that we'd see the way that we'd see any large theatre production with those kind of production values. So obviously it takes a long time to put the finance in place and to sort all of that stuff out. It's not like just doing a gig, but that's what we're working on. People should read the book. I think it's a good book. I'm enjoying the story. I'd appreciate people's feedback. You can get it from my website, akalamusic.com. You click through to the store. That's the only place you can get it right now. We will be selling it on tour as well though. I'm doing a tour in April. I'm touring the UK. Do look on my website or my Twitter at Akala Music for details of that. And these will be available there as well. And And that's the ruins. Yeah, I can give you a little snippet from the ruins. So basically what happens, the knowledge seeker goes for all these different journeys, right? First of all, he walks up to the pyramids in ancient Egypt, and when he's at the pyramids, he sort of wonders how can a society that was building skyscrapers thousands of years ago suddenly collapse? What kind of corruption and madness was going on that it dropped in the way that it did? So he asks this question, and then like a spiritual entity, if you want to call it that, called the genius, comes and guides him through human history. And at a certain point, he has what you could describe as a spiritual experience where he's reborn again and again and again in all the different wars throughout human history. And that chapter is called The Killing Fields. I'm going to read you a little bit of that. And it seems I was there, where everywhere, every battle ever fought, every stab, every shot through the ages of humans, a killing machine. I could feel everything, though it wasn't a dream. I was every soldier that had ever fought with a shield and a sword, or the blood ever drawn from a dagger or a bayonet, an axe that will slay your neck, or automatic gas that clap only spraying death. I was in a tank that exploded in Iraq, a drive-by and gang war spraying out cars. I was in Nam, dropping napalm that would burn my skin. I was also Viet Minh. I was in Italian massacring Ethiopians. The bullets only pierced my flesh because I was both of them. I could feel every single wound in the flesh, but also the pleasure of causing the death. I was a soldier of the Caliphate on the crusade, a killer using Christ in exactly the same way. I was every woman ever killed in a witch hunt, or every little girl forced to grow because of split souls, or men like to... Anyway, goes on like that. So like that is like a part of it that if you read it, you wouldn't know it was that kind of double time rap necessarily. You know, you could read it as a poem. Then there's other parts that are much slower. Like I wrote it originally, the ruins part of it, as one long 29, 35 minute, roughly that sort of length rap, but over a few different instrumentals we built as a band. And then, like I said, there's the more prose leaning stuff. I can read a little bit of that, but let me give you a sense of. So this is one of the stories. This story is about Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Jean-Jacques Dessalines was the leader of the Haitian Revolution that declared Haiti independent in 1804. And this was about a legendary woman in Haiti, a revolutionary figure called Mama Toya. And Mama Toya is a woman whose life we don't know a whole lot about, but she was like a grandmother figure to Jean-Jacques Dessalines according to all the traditions. And she was also a warrior from the ancient African kingdom of Dahomey, and she taught him the tools that he would need. While they were both enslaved, she was basically secretly training him to become a general to set them free. And so this is a story I've made up around the brief facts that we know about Mama Toya and Jean-Jacques Dessalines. You will bring us independence. It was an absurd thing to tell a child. Yet Mama Toya daily repeated this mantra to her adopted son. She was very specific, giving details as if she had seen the events already just yesterday. You will lead the armies that set this nation free and make us an independent people again. I have submitted myself to be a slave only because I knew you were to be born and that this would be your life's work. To add to the absurdity, the young boy, barely in his 13th year, agreed to take on the task with neither magnanimity nor fear, but simply and seriously, as if he were being asked to carry an adult's message across a village. This black child recently arrived from Africa and vomited ashore from the squalor of a galley's gut like millions of others, took on the task of overthrowing slavery as if it were as simple as learning a trade, and with a carpenter's discipline and focus began to learn day by day from this woman the military arts of her native kingdom, the once mighty Dahomey. This African kingdom that had, many moons ago, stood as a stalwart against slavery, refusing to trade with Europeans at all, let alone in the trade of human beings. But now, the monarchs of Dahomey had succumbed, like so many others, to greed or fear or both, and had become enemies of their land, selling its most valuable resource, people, to white men in exchange for items of personal comfort. Mama Toya, like other warrior women, had especially, quite deliberately, been targeted for selling. Noble women of her rank were rarely captured and sold, but her anti-slaving principles, rebellious nature, and immense standing within the kingdom made her a constant threat to the king and his white friends. They soon put pay to that. Mama Toya made the middle passage through shit and vomit and death rather quietly for a woman of her temperament, silently contemplating only ways to kill those enslaving her and gain freedom. Once in San Domingue, she spent her long life secretly teaching her fellow enslaved how to prepare for the freedom that only she seemed to know was coming. Most had thought her crazy. Mama Toya. And so it has that chapter. Like I said, it has a chapter about the UK and about the Cattle Street conspiracy and about a thing called the Peterloo Massacre. And it's all with this art. And then at the end of the book, I commissioned another artist to do some pieces of art inspired by the text, an art called Troy Edwards. And so he did pieces spread across a double page like this. So you got like This piece is inspired by the themes in the text and what the text is dealing with throughout history. And I just like the idea of just collaborating with artists in a different way that's original, that isn't straight, you know, music. Just thinking about things in a way that is kind of different and creative, hopefully. But that's my new book check. That's The Ruins of Empires by Akala. Well, it's not my first book actually. I wrote a book of poetry before called Double Thoughts, so this is technically my second book, but in a way I feel like it's my first kind of proper book. No disrespect to Double Thoughts, but I thought that was like an add-on to an album, where this is a book in and of itself. The first of many, hopefully.